Okay, welcome to your 9th CSS and HTML tutorial. In this tutorial, we will be covering the CSS float property. Now, CSS floats are they basically specify whether a box should be floated or shifted to the right or left within a parent element. Now, before we continue, you should know that all elements on the page are in the form of a box. That is because of the box model, and boxes on the page are stacked one on top of the other. Now, usually as a designer, you may want to change that. You may want to position an element to the left or right within a page. Therefore, you will be moving the element outside of its default layout. Okay, this is, and you could use floats to float the element to the left or float the element to the right of a page. Okay, so this is what we're going to be doing today. Let's create a div element right here, and let's give it an ID. Let's call it a container, and let's give that container some styles. Let's give it a width of 600 pixels. Let's give it a height of 500 pixels, and let's give it a background color of, let's say, gray. Control S. Let's preview this in the browser. Okay, and let's put some elements within this container. Let's put some div elements. Let's give this an ID of box1, and let's give it some content of box1. Let's give this a class as well. CLASS class. Let's give it a class of box, and let's copy this down 3 more times. 1, 2, 3, and let's change this ID here. Let's call this box2, and let's say contents of box2, and let's call this, change this one as well. Let's say box3, and let's call this contents of box3. Control S. Let's preview this. Okay, as you can see here, because of the box model, each of the elements are stacked one on top of the other. Let's give each element a color. Let's make reference to the class, which is box, and let's say width. Let's give it a width of 300 pixels, a height of 50 pixels, background color. Let's give it a background color of green. Okay, and let's give it a margin, because if we just Control S, as you can see here, it looks like one box. So let's make it let's separate the boxes. Let's give it a margin. Top. Let's give it 5 pixels. Okay, as you can see here, we have 3 boxes. Okay, because of the default box model, they are stacked one on top of the other. Now let's say we want to float, because we want to design this differently. We want to float the content. We want to float box2 to the right of box1. Okay, so what we need to do is this. We need to make reference to box2. Box2. Let's call box1, and we could say box1. Float left, and box2 float right. Control S to save. Now let's look at what happens here. As you can see here, box2 floated to the right, box1 remained to the left. However, the box3, as it looks like the background color disappeared, and box2 is not fully positioned, aligned equally with box1. Okay, now what we need to do to rectify this is one of the problems with the inherent problems with floats. But what we need to do to rectify this, we can clear box 3. So we could say box 3 clear both. Control S to save. And as you can see here, it positions correctly. As you can see here, box 2 positions to the right of box 1, and it aligns equally with box 1, and the color, and box 3 remains in position below box 1 and box 2, and the color remains intact as well. Okay, so this is the basics of CSS floats. Okay, this is our 9th tutorial, and thank you for watching, and you do subscribe and ensure that you view further tutorials. Thank you.